December 26th, my younger son said to me, I think I need to go see a urologist. There's something that's not right. Can you get me in to see somebody right away? And I had quite a few friends from team, and they helped me get him into a doctor, a urologist, like right that day. And sitting there in the office, the urologist said, have you had breakfast today? And my thought was, this isn't a good thing, because they needed to get in and do surgery right away, which they did. They basically got him in that day when it was okay and removed one testy. He had testicular cancer. And they basically said the plan was 4 rounds of chemo, then we'll have the surgery, we'll take it out, and 99% chance of 100% recovery. And I was just like, okay, that's the goal, that's what we're going for.
My father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and they gave him a year. And then we saw another doctor, and they're like 6 months. Well, it was 5 weeks. So he passed 5 weeks after diagnosis. And in 2003, my mom and husband were both diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks apart. My mom had stage 4 cancer that had metastasized to her bones and her spine. My husband was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Our life totally changed because now they're both having to do chemo. They both did 3 months of chemo. I would take them. The only funny thing about it is they did it together. So I would take them both to the chemo center, drop them off, and say, support each other. I'll be back in 3 hours. Then 2005, I was diagnosed with malignant melanoma when I found a spot on my leg. And I'm like, are you kidding? And so, I went in, they did a biopsy. The next day they called me and said, you need to come in. And I was like, okay. And they're like, well, it's cancer. And it's the bad one. And, by this time I know a lot of doctors. I'm like, okay, well, I want to see the best doctor. I want, let's do what we have to do now.
And my middle brother called me and told me that my brother Greg was very ill. They had found a 12-centimeter mass on his liver and combined with his pancreas, and I immediately thought pancreatic cancer. When the biopsy came back, it was melanoma. Melanoma, that's skin cancer, right? How could he have melanoma inside? Well, they went over his whole body and they could never find the primary. There was not a mark on his skin. So very rare. It seems that perhaps he had some melanoma on his skin, his body took care of it, and then it seeded or it spread. And so there was no marks on his skin. So we came to USC, there's a melanoma expert, and we went to see him, and they started him on immunotherapy. Well, because it had metastasized, and that only works on 20% of the people that try it, by mid-June of 2014, which was about 3 months from diagnosis, they sent him home to hospice. So we brought him home and he passed 4 days later.
My sister had been having abdominal pains, and for months they couldn't figure out what it was, and then finally some radiologist spotted something, and they found out that it was something called leiomyosarcoma. Pretty quickly she had surgery where they cut out the tumor, replaced her vein with a tube of Gore-Tex, and we all thought that we'd gotten it. So 5 years later, she gets married. The cancer had returned, it metastasized in her spine, had grown to the size of like a softball. The prognosis at that point was not good. It was really the start of the next phase of cancer for her, which was the long-term fight. She fought for a total of 10 years, radiation and chemo of many types. She was young, she'd just gotten married, wanted to have kids. Ultimately, she did have a child. I have a nephew. Before she went on to chemotherapy and radiation, she went to the Livestrong Foundation, which helped provide fertility treatments for her and my brother-in-law. Years later, they found a surrogate, and about 9 months before my sister passed, my nephew Sydney was born.
At one point, you know, my final doctor appointment, I said, "Do you think it can be cancer?" And he said, "No, you shouldn't worry about that. You're too young." He told me no. I went on with my life, whatever, went back to school. In Atlanta, I finished my degree and then had a few job offers, went to California. I got very, very involved in the community. I was very active, and I'm a goofy person, and so one day I was in the mirror and I was dancing. I don't know. Yes, I was by myself. Don't judge me, but I looked and I saw this bump on my neck, and I was like, so I went to the doctor and I said, you know, I had this lump, and they wanted to do the whole rundown, the test, the endoscopy, all of these tests, and I said, it was the first time in my life that I really, really put my foot down, and I said, I need you to test me for cancer first, and then we can go through your plan. And they were put back, they were, you know, put off by that, but I had to listen to my body, right? I know my body best. Got it tested, and then found out I had thyroid cancer. So that's when my doctor called me and said, you tested positive. So it also spread through my lymph nodes throughout my body. So that's when I had to have radiation therapy. Radiation therapy for me was very scary. First of all, you're treated like, I actually didn't think I was going to get emotional. So that's one thing that I've learned, is being real with my emotions. I'm a very positive person. It wasn't until, well, my best friend, who's now my wife, Lana, really told me it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to say you're sad, or it's okay to tell people when you're in pain or you're scared.